Yugitube, Dark Magician of Team Sorcerers here. It's been a while, hasn't it? And welcome to a brand new segment I'm bringing to the channel. It is called What If Wednesdays. Now, I was originally going to do this on my channel, but I figured I'd actually put it on this channel, just to give us more consistent content again, because like I've said before, I know we've not been uploading as consistently as we used to, mainly because we've been doing stuff for our own channels. Now this segment I did of course do before, like for a bit in 2017 and I think 18 as well, but now I'm bringing it back here. Now more specifically, I'm going to recover scenarios for the anime, Yu-Gi-Oh! Real life stuff, real life Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff I should say, and even Robot Wars. I don't know how many of you guys are into Robot Wars, but there have been a few, but I've been thinking of a lot of scenarios since I randomly came across some what if scenarios on forums in somewhat recent years. So I've got lots of ideas for that. But I know like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans will be more into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, so there will be videos that I did before that I plan to redo. But for now, I'm going to cover something that I don't think anyone else has covered. I know there's lots of what if channels and videos on YouTube, and other Yugitubers have covered some what if scenarios from the anime. But from what I've seen, like only one person covered something from GX. Either that or it was just a theory video, but yeah, here's one I couldn't help but think of earlier, and this goes back to season 1 of GX where Camula defeats Zane. Now, yeah, we remember the scenario, at least if you're a GX fan. Zane could have potentially won, but she put Cyrus's soul on the line with Illusion Gate and threatened to have his soul taken by the sacred beasts if she lost. Now even though Zane could have potentially held off attacks from the stolen Cyber End Dragon, like there was no... well, it's hard to say whether or not he could have made a comeback. And yeah, obviously Cyrus told Zane to just defeat her, even if it means he loses his soul, and the world would be saved. Well, at least later on, but obviously Zane wasn't willing to put Cyrus in danger. He even said Cyrus had potential and he didn't want to see it go to waste, so he wouldn't have gone through with trying to win. But here's where the theme of the video goes. What if Zane did win? What could have happened afterwards? Now, I'm not quite sure how Zane would have turned things around, because he had nothing in hand, and just a Call of the Haunted face down, which he would have used to bring back Cyber Barrier Dragon and block an attack. So yeah, it's really hard to say, really. Actually, come to think of it, is Illusion Gate a continuous spell? I'm just going to check real quick. Okay, never mind. It is a normal spell. I was going to say maybe it would have made a difference if Zane top-decked Mystical Space Typhoon and destroyed it, but I guess it wouldn't have worked like that. Although the card doesn't say that it stays on the field, so yeah, we can eliminate that possibility. I guess Overload Fusion, assuming Zane would have had it by then, would have potentially helped. Let me think, he's got 3 Cyber Dragons in grave, plus the laser and a barrier on the field, so... But then again, even that might not be enough. Chimera Tech would come out at 4k and would have equal attack strength, so it would be a stalemate. I mean, I suppose in that scenario he could probably crash and then end his turn, but then it depends on what Camula would have drawn next. I was watching that video which, what's his name, TSG Anime or something, said was discussing in that video, could Camula, could Crowler and Zane have beaten Camula, or could Camula have beaten Jaden? And rather annoyingly, it was pointed out she has 2 mysterious cards in hand that never get seen or never get played. So it is assumed that they'd be bricks. I'm assuming they wouldn't be monster cards, or in this case zombies. If they would have been, then she surely would have used Vampire Genesis' effect on the turn she summoned it. So I'm guessing they must be spells that she can't play. Again, it would depend on Camula's top deck. Keeping in mind, of course, Zane is still at 4k at this point, so it's not likely she would have won that turn unless there's more than one copy of Illusion Gates, which is unlikely. In any case, if Zane still ends up losing somehow, then absolutely nothing changes. But if Zane does win, then a lot would absolutely change. Now, it isn't specified what would have happened if Camula would lose in this situation, and whether... Wait, I was going to say whether or not Cyrus's soul would still be sacrificed, but I feel like what would likely happen is Camula's soul goes into the doll, which is what happens to the loser of her games, and Cyrus's soul would be trapped by the sacred beasts. That being the case, like, everyone would be just distraught and in absolute anguish, especially Zane. It's like, this is his little brother, his soul just went, just like that. So, yeah, he's hurting a lot. Jaden would be really upset as well, because he just lost his best friend. And Zane would be really down in the dumps, but I don't know if it would get to a point where he'd just decide to never duel again. I would think he would try and continue to duel in Cyrus's honour, and avenge him, basically. same with Jaden. And of course, this does leave a spot open for the best friend role, like later on down the line, which probably wouldn't get covered in the rest of the season just yet. I feel like everything would still be played out the same way, pretty much. Kind of. Even though, there's no longer a Cyrus to try and stop Jaden from getting in trouble in class, like, what was it, episode 40, where they were talking about old duelists and pharaohs and stuff. The episode where Jaden duels, what was his name, Abydos III? So I very nearly forgot to mention about Amnail, aka Banzer. Banner. Since Zane will have his spirit key still in this scenario, Banner will go after him as well, and Zane will be doing whatever it takes to take him down and avenge Cyrus. Now, it's hard to say who would win in that scenario. Alchemy beasts and Macro, Helios, or Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragons are, of course, statistically better, but I feel like, because of plot convenience, Amnail will end up defeating Zane as well. Just because the idea of the storyline is that Jaden defeats him and gets the book and Sabatiel the Philosopher's Stone. And that would be that in that scenario. Now, another thing that's unclear is whether or not in that situation Cyrus's soul would have been brought back if Jaden defeated Kagimaru later on down the line. Now, if his soul did come back, like, somehow, then the rest of GX can just carry on as normal, with absolutely no changes. But otherwise, well, that's the best friend character just outright written out, just like that. And then when Chumley goes off to work for Industrial Illusions, Jaden's all on his own in that dorm. The poor guy just has no roommate. I mean, he still has all his other friends, of course, but they're all in different dorms, and in a way, it kind of wouldn't feel the same. That being said, I feel like the graduation duel would still carry on as normal, and keeping in mind, like, with all these what-if scenarios, this is my best guess. I mean, if I get something wrong, then feel free to point it out, educate me, just don't belittle me, okay? That's season 1. Yes, a few things about season 2 do change, but not that much. Because without Cyrus, there's no one for Hasselberry to bully, like in episode 55, and Cyrus isn't selected to be a potential rising star, which was that random scheme that Crowler and Bonaparte were trying to do. So it does make me wonder how Hasselberry would still come into the picture and join the gang, potentially. I mean, I suppose he could. There would be a storyline where he'd pick on other younger Slifer Red students, and Jaden would somehow hear about it, and then find out who it is, and they still would have their confrontation, and the duel would still play out the same way, and then Hasselberry would still kind of move into the Slifer Red dorm, and then I guess that by default makes him become the best friend character. And then later on down the line, the duel between Cyrus and Hasselberry wouldn't happen. The duel where they basically fight for the right to be Jaden's true best friend. Well, obviously the two of them don't even meet in this timeline. But it does make me wonder if Hasselberry would still would think of the idea of doing a search party for Jaden, like in this timeline. It's kind of unlikely. And then this raises another question for later on, when they do the whole Domino City field trip thing. Because let's see, at this point, Chaz and Alexis are in the Society of Light, and it does make me wonder who those two Monarch players would basically corner. It wouldn't be anyone in the Society of Light, obviously, so and obviously it wouldn't be Jaden, so it'd be narrowed down to Hasselberry and Bastion, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like in this case, Bastion would fill the role of Cyrus in this duel, but would it have even made a difference? I'm not so sure it would have done. I feel like Bastion would again be another victim of plot convenience, really, where it would be another of those duels where a fan favourite character just loses. And I do hate that they did that with Bastion's character, like after he lost to Jaden, just make him lose almost every duel. I say almost, because he did beat that one guy in the Gen X tournament, like in, what was it, episode 84? It was some point after Bastion joined the Society of Light. Yeah, they'd be defeated and basically trapped in virtual reality. Hasselberry would still be a dinosaur, but I don't know what Bastion would take the form of. Maybe a dinosaur or a magnet warrior? Let me know in the comments what you think. Yeah. Other than that, Oh yeah, there is one other thing that would change throughout season 2. Zane's story arc, where he then turns really edgy. Um, as without Cyrus, there's no one to confront him, really, and try and change him back into a better person. Um, and it does make me wonder if someone else would confront him instead, um, or whether that confrontation wouldn't have happened. Um, but I would like to think that he does still gradually go back to being softer, and then he just kind of drops out anyway. Like after, wait, did she face Blair? No, I don't know. I can't remember the whole context of what made him drop out near the end of season 2. And season 3. Again, not a whole lot would be different. Well, except maybe when they enter the dark world. Cool story, me. Yeah, without Cyrus, there's basically no one to yell at Jaden after his duel with Bron, the Mad King of Darkworld. And it does make me wonder if anyone would try to find Jaden. You know, after all that happens, I mean, who would Ojama Yellow find? Because, again, for the sake of the video, Cyrus is long gone. Chaz, Atticus, Alexis and Hasselberry have been sent to the stars. So that just leaves Asta, Zane, Crowler, and Echo. I feel like Ojama Yellow would end up finding one of them. Oh yeah, there is also Jim and Axel. But for the sake of the plot, he's not likely to find Jim and Axel, considering they take on Jaden as the Supreme King, and they get sent to the stars as well. So I'm going to say he would probably find Crowler, maybe. But not that it matters too much, since all of them end up regrouping anyway once Jaden comes back. And then everything just plays out as normal. I forgot one other thing. That spell card which put those symbols on certain characters. I'm trying to remember. It was anguish for Atticus, sadness for Alexis, and Chaz and Hasselberry had anger and hatred, or something close to those lines. And then there was the doubt symbol thing. I forget off the top of my head what it was called. Yeah, I wish I was better prepared for this. So, who would that even go to? Crowler, perhaps? I feel like that's more likely. But, yeah, I don't think a lot of it changes, really. think Crowler would just ultimately fill the role of Cyrus in that scenario. And then, yeah, the rest of the season plays out the same way. And season 4. Yeah, obviously without... there's no Cyrus to be promoted to Obelisk Blue, after of course being promoted to Ra Yellow in season 2. Now there would be one major change here, and that is when he confronts the confrontation with the Jinzo guy. Zane is barely able to put up a fight against this guy. Now obviously in the real GX timeline, Cyrus steps in and decides to duel that guy instead. It makes me wonder what would even happen in that situation. So, I mean, there'd be no way that this guy gets his way. Why can't I remember his name? As you can tell, it's been a while since I've seen it. I mean, you must know who I'm on about, surely. I feel like Jaden would step in at this point, and yeah, perhaps do a Yugi and combine his Elemental Hero Neospatians with Zane's Cyberdarks and Cyber Dragons. That's what would more likely happen in that situation. But how would this play out? Would it be a continuation? Just like when Yugi took over from Kaiba when they faced Noah? Or would it start over as a new duel, like in the actual timeline? It's hard to tell. In any way, it would be interesting to see how Jaden's cards and Zane's cards would interact with each other. Now obviously in the real game, I feel like they just clog each other up too much. I mean, imagine the bricks. Good God. But since it's the anime and it's plot convenience, Jaden will find a way to make all these archetypes work together to take down the Jinzo guy. And then what would happen afterwards? Would Zane let Jaden keep his cyber cards? Or would he keep them himself? It's really hard to say. He would have wanted to pass them on to someone, definitely Cyrus, as it did happen. And then he said he'd start over and make a new deck. But without Cyrus, it's hard to say what would happen here. Maybe without Cyrus, he'd just keep hold of them and just resolve to recover from his condition and then become that amazing pro player that he's always been. Or maybe Jaden would inherit the cyber cards, and who knows, maybe it can help him take down darkness, ultimately. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. That's what I feel would happen if Zane defeated Camula and Cyrus's soul was long gone. Or at least this is my best guess. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If there's anything I overlooked, or if you agree with me on anything. So yeah, that's it. that's that. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.